All right, guys, welcome to my 30,000 mile 3-year review of my 2021 Mazda 3 front wheel drive 2.5 liter naturally aspirated. All right, the first issue that I noticed right off the bat from day one, bought this car brand new, is I noticed that anytime I do a hard launch or just accelerate briskly from a full stop, sometimes the car felt like it wanted to stall. It just kind of bucked, kind of hesitated a little bit at first. Yeah, it just felt like, like maybe it wanted to stall out. And then one time it did. Went to move my foot from the brake to the accelerator, like pretty quickly, because I wanted to get going fast. Light turned green, and the engine just died. Before I could even get an inch, the engine just died. I had no trouble starting it back up. I was unable to reproduce it. Every so often it would feel like it was going to stall out. So fast forward a couple years, and there is actually a TSB out on that issue. And in the TSB, it describes exactly what I was experiencing, and took it to the dealership, and it was a very easy fix. It just needed a software update. That's all it needed. I guess the old software was a little too overzealous on the torque limiter, and the updated software, it makes it operate correctly the way it's supposed to. And now I don't have any issues. The car takes off so much more smoothly than it ever did. All right, and then the transmission overall does a really great job. Never hunts for gears. It's, nice crisp shifts. Never have any issues, except once in a great while. This has only happened maybe 3 or 4 times in the 3 years that I've owned the car. I've noticed when I shift it in reverse and then back up a little ways, shift back into drive, and then I go to hit the gas, it just lurches. The car lurches forward, like it's just going into drive abruptly or something. Like when I go to step on the gas after having put it in drive, and then I go forward, it just, does a hard lurch. But like I said, it's only done it 3 or 4 times, hasn't been a big deal at all, so I'm not going to worry about that for now, unless it gets worse or something. But, even the best system is going to have a glitch every now and then. All right, and then the center console lid doesn't slide back always very easily. It kind of gets hung up, and when you go to flip it up, it's like hung up, and you got to use some kind of force sometimes to get it to open. And that's kind of a little bit annoying, but not a huge deal. It does it on we have another 4th gen Mazda 3. It does it on that one too. And then the seat flaps on the backs of both the front seats. There's a flap that's supposed to just hook in and cover up the foam and the components inside the seat. And from day one, you sit in the seats, or move around on the seat at all, and the flaps just pop right off. They just unhook and open up, and it's unsightly. It's just a cosmetic thing. And I tried hooking it back up, putting it back together, it just pops right back open again. So I think what I'm going to do is just take maybe some black electrical tape, and very discreetly, put it in a couple discrete places just to hold it in place so it doesn't keep popping open. And then there was a door leak. So this was maybe around the 20,000 mile mark. Noticed it could have been leaking earlier than that. There was a door leak on the passenger rear door. It wasn't a real bad leak, just if it was raining really hard, the water would leak out of the bottom of the door, and it would just dribble onto the floorboard in the back. So noticed a little bit of pooling, and it turns out there's a TSB on that too. But the TSB fixes that problem. And none of my other doors have leaked, and on our 2022, haven't had any leaks in that. Once in a great while, the forward collision warning alert will go off, even though I'm not about to hit anything. It just thinks I'm going to hit something, but there's nothing there. And it's done that about 3 or 4 times since I've owned the car. And then maybe once or twice, a particular set of safety systems disabled while driving. Just got like a warning on there that a certain group of safety systems were offline and not functioning. But that's only lasted maybe 30 seconds to a minute, and then everything comes back on. So I don't know what that's about. But the critical safety systems don't disable when this happens. It's just a certain group of optional safety systems. Okay, this is another minor gripe. Maybe 15-20% of the time, the door handles don't sense my hand on them when I go to unlock the car. So then I end up having to pull the key fob out and hitting the button on that to unlock the car. Really not a huge deal for me, so I don't know what that's about. And then the fuel door, once in a great while I have issues with that. I noticed from day one, and it actually hasn't done it in a long time. This is more kind of in the first year of ownership of the car. I noticed that the fuel door, when you go to shut it, doesn't, once in a while it won't lock shut. So I found a workaround for that. There's a black latching mechanism right here that I'll push, and then I'll push it again, then shut the door, the fuel door, and then it locks into place. Every time. Every time I've had a problem, push that black locking mechanism in, push it out again, and then shut the fuel door. And then once, and this was again towards the beginning of the ownership of the car, within the first year of owning it, one time I couldn't get the fuel door open. I'd push on the fuel door, wouldn't pop open. So I took my key fob out, hit the unlock button on the key fob, popped right open then. Rattles and creaks. So a lot of people in Mazda forums have complained about creaks and rattles in this car. I guess we've just gotten lucky because we've hardly had any issues with creaks and rattles. Every once in a great while, we'll get some sort of a creak or rattle that lasts maybe for one drive, and then the next time the car is driven, it's gone. And then it might reappear maybe a couple months down the road, and then it'll disappear quickly. So it's largely not been an issue for us. And another thing that a lot of people complain about is the thin paint on these cars, and they talk about paint chips. So the majority of my miles are freeway highway miles. Most of the time driving at a higher speed with, cars and trucks in front kicking up debris and rubbish. Cars being peppered with sand and little rocks. And surprisingly, when you read all of people's complaints about it and how many chips people talk about having, accumulated on the front of their cars, we've got relatively few paint chips for all the times our car gets peppered with debris. So that's held up fairly well, I'd say. Another thing that happens sometimes, despite our key fobs always having fresh batteries in them, I always keep the CR2032s, fresh ones in the key fobs, and I always travel with more than one as a backup. And every once in a while, this has maybe happened 4 or 5 times in the 3 years of owning this car, 30,000 miles. As I sit down in the car, and it'll say key not detected. No idea what that's about. So I know it's not the battery in the key fob, so something to do with the receiver in the car, for some reason, isn't detecting the key. But this is not a very common occurrence. So I usually give it a half a minute, and then it goes away. It eventually detects that it's there. All right. So another thing with brand new cars is oftentimes the factory does not stock their cars with really good batteries or tires out of the factory. And it's probably just a cost savings thing that auto manufacturers do. This is all across the board. This isn't just Mazda. It's pretty much every car manufacturer. We'll put batteries and tires on cars that, they're not terrible. They're just not great. So 2 years after buying this car brand new, it needed a new battery. But that's, I think, pretty typical for a brand new car, considering the kind of cheaper batteries they use. So I put an Interstate brand battery in, which I've always had really good luck with. And then the tires, the factory Bridgestone Turanza EL440s, they're not terrible tires. They're just not the best. And so I replaced the tires with Vredestein. Vredestein gets really good reviews, and I'm impressed with the performance of those tires. Excellent grip. Better than the stock tires that came with this car. I mean, the handling characteristics improved quite a lot when I upgraded the tires. All right, and then the last thing is something that just recently started happening. The button for the trunk release on the exterior of the car, just underneath the Mazda emblem, has pretty much stopped working. I know it's not the key fob, because both key fobs don't allow the button to work. And key fob works everywhere else, just not on that trunk release. So I end up using the button on the key fob now to open the trunk, or the button inside the car. So those are the issues that we've had with our 2021. So I'd say that overall, there haven't been any major reliability issues, which is good. Just a collection of minor problems. And, you know, I'm a believer that the more tech that you cram into a car, the more techie things you got in there, more electronics, the more often things are going to glitch. And computers glitch. So I'm not going to chalk that up to Mazda, really. I think it's all across the board. The more techie stuff you have in a car, just the more opportunity there is for things to glitch. And computers glitch every once in a while. The car has never left me stranded, so I'm going to say that's a win for this car. So overall, it's been great. And then at some point, we'll do a review on our 2022 Mazda 3 Turbo. At some point, I don't know. Maybe I'll wait till 30,000 miles. All right, thank you for watching.